Welcome back to Hardball. Well, the hits keep coming from the GOP. On Monday, we told you about changes to the Texas Republican platform, which already says that, quote, homosexuality tears at the fabric of society. Well, to go even further, according to the Associated Press, under the new plank, the Texas GOP recognizes legitimacy and efficacy of counseling, which offers reparative therapy and treatment for those patients seeking healing and wholeness from their homosexual lifestyle. That's in the official Republican platform right now. It just was put in. Now, there's this. Texas Governor Rick Perry, we all know him, was asked whether homosexuality was a disorder, to which he answered that while people may feel compelled to follow a particular lifestyle, they have the ability to decide not to then. And then he made this comparison.
I may have the genetic coding that I'm inclined to be an alcoholic, but I have the desire not to do that. And I look at the homosexual issue as the same way.
Our Kate Kogarin, who was there tonight, says there were a few gasps from the crowd after Perry's remark.
Well, Governor Perry then apparently confusing attraction, I think, with addiction. Anyway, that's my commentary. And in comments made last year on a Facebook conversation thread, a Republican candidate for the Oklahoma State House agreed that stoning gay people would be the right thing to do. Here's the exchange, starting with the non-candidate who writes, so just to be clear, you think we should execute homosexuals, presumably by stoning? And do you think people are worried about the Muslims taking over? Ha-ha. Anyway, the Republican candidate, Scott Esk is his name, replies, I think we would be totally in the right to do it. That goes against some parts of libertarianism. I realize that I'm largely libertarian, but ignoring as a nation things that are worthy of death is very remiss. Joining me right now is Gregory Angelo, the executive director of the Log Cabin Republicans, and MSNBC political analyst Joan Walsh. I'm kerfuffled by some of these things here, but let me go to Joan just because we're familiar talking about these things. What makes Republicans talk so much? Why don't they just take the fifth when discussing gender politics, gay issues generally, the existence of gay orientation and identity? Anything to do with this just seems to get them in trouble with everybody.
Not with their hard right, older Christian conservative base, Chris. I mean, everybody in this country is changing, but not that element of the base. And, you know, I want to say some people genuinely, authentically believe this and other people pander. And I don't know which kind of person Rick Perry is, but I kind of don't care. It's a disgusting thing to say. It's neither a disease nor any kind of moral weakness to be LGBT. And I think he's got to know that. The Oklahoma guy.
I wonder, I think, well, let me continue your thought. Let me go to Gregory. Sure. You know, I think people are born gay, and I think a lot of people think they are. And I've asked a lot of friends of mine, people I meet, I always say, when did you know you were gay? People, pretty early on. It's not like something that comes in a flash, and it's not learned or anything. It's not.
It's not a choice. It's certainly not a disease.
No, but it could be genetic. But the idea of the genetic vulnerability to alcoholism may also be genetic, but they're not the same. I just think putting them in the same pot is derogatory.
Yeah, that's true. Now, you know, if I could go back a little bit to your introduction and say if there's any silver lining here, that language about homosexuality tearing at the fabric of society was removed by the platform committee at this most recent convention.
And they put in
this nonsense about yes, ex-gay therapy, a practice.
Is that Michelle Bachmann's influence or what? Where's that coming from?
You know, it was the Texas Eagle Forum in particular that pushed this language. And you know, when you look at the Texas GOP platform, it has become, instead of a single sheet of paper that lists a bunch of principles that members of a party can coalesce around, a literal platform that launches campaigns, it's become this albatross around the neck of a lot of candidates, where it's this kitchen sink list of all of these laws that members of the platform committee would like to see passed, but they're not courageous enough to run for office themselves. They've spent years working these leadership
you're a gay
positions
man, so maybe you can explain this. You told me when you came out before we got on the air, and I just think, why do you think they go to what they think is the middle course? We can fix these people.
Like what? I mean, I don't think that's a middle course at all. I mean,
no, but to them, why do they go from they're tearing society apart to we can put you together?
Right. You're trying to look at the silver lining there.
I'm trying to figure out what they're thinking.
I think what they're thinking is that they're trying to appease a very small but very vocal segment of the GOP, the Texas GOP in particular. What they're not seeing is the larger picture, that they're actually alienating the greater electorate in the state of Texas, and they're even alienating Republicans within the state. We had delegates on the convention floor in Texas, and once they got to the convention and found out that these planks of the platform had been inserted in subcommittee meetings that took place before the general convention began, they were irate. They wanted to speak out against us. They were not given that opportunity by the Texas State GOP.
You're a great guest. Let me go back to Joan on this, the politics of this generally. Why do they try to talk like this? Why don't they just say, I'm no scientist, buddy?
Because they believe
I'm not
it.
a psychiatrist. I have no idea about this genetic thing I just spoke about. I'm guessing.
Because they believe it. And, you know, I think you're right in the sense, I mean, you're both right. It's an extremist position, but it is their attempt to be what they consider, quote, Christian, and say, oh, well, you know, there might be, okay, we're trying to work with the science of this, that it may be innate, but it's innate like diseases are innate. And it's just awful. And, you know, it's sort of like going back to the infamous autopsy that Reince Priebus did. You know, one of the things that they actually came out and said, they didn't talk about a lot of policy in that, but they did talk about how more openness to gay rights was going to be crucial, not only in reaching out to the LGBT community, but to reaching out to young people nationally and in Texas. That young people are completely put off by this kind of language, and that fell apart.
Can't wait to see the Republican platform in 2016 up against probably Hillary Clinton. They better be careful on this front. Thank you so much, Gregory.
Thanks, Chris.
Good organization, I think, yours, the Log Cabin. I've spoken to you guys. Haven't changed your politics, but I've enjoyed the company. Thank you, Gregory, Angelo, and Joan Walsh. We'll be right back after this.